Hello, what's up guys, my name is Devo, and welcome to my episode 8 and 9 discussion and review of Fate Apocrypha, and these past two episodes were fantastic with the amount of non-stop fighting within each episode. And before I begin, I do want to say that there's possibly not going to be a review next week because it really depends on the content that happens with each episode. It's the reason I didn't review last week's episode because there wasn't much I could talk about with that episode alone, which is why it's being combined with this episode this week. Now the way I'm going to review these past two episodes is talking about the individual fights that are going on, and at the end I'll talk about anything that's left over. So first off, we have the fight between Karna and Vlad, and holy shit, their fight is insane. I'm enjoying what both of these lancers are bringing to the fight, and it's definitely much different compared to our previous Fate lancers, with those being more traditional lancers. And well, Karna is basically a demigod, and Vlad's ability to summon a whole bunch of spikes from the ground really shows how different this series is and how different these lancers are, and it's kind of hard to figure out who's actually going to be the winner of this fight. Now moving on to the next fight is between Achilles and Chiron, and one of my favorite fights in this battle so far. I love the teacher versus student dynamic these two have, and I'm glad that they're exploring that dynamic with their fight in episode 9, because obviously Chiron taught most of what Achilles knows, so Achilles has to use the skills he gained after his training with Chiron to try and defeat him. And the emotions behind this fight is there as well, so it's going to be fun to see who will come out on top. Also, outside their battle, Achilles as a rider is insane with his chariot. Now the next fight I want to talk about is probably my favorite fight so far, and that's between Shiro and Shakespeare versus Frankenstein's monster. I'm just gonna call Fran because it's much easier. Now one of the first things I have to say about this fight was the OST that I was playing throughout it, and that was the one thing I was having a bit of a complaint about this series so far, because before they were using the same OST in the past couple of episodes a lot, so I'm glad that they decided to switch it up, and it definitely lives up to expectations, especially in this fight. Also, can someone please nerf the priests in the Fate series, because they are always going ham in these fights. And seeing Shiro's motivation to why he's fighting in episode 8 was pretty great, and just seeing the overwhelming desire he has to win was a nice touch as well, with Semiramis seeing the flames while Shiro was speaking. But going back on topic with the fight with Fran, I honestly thought Shakespeare was going to be useless in this battle, but he proves that he has some uses as well, with for one creating the blade that Shiro is using in this fight, and that illusion he created for Frankenstein in today's episode, and it puts into perspective on how dangerous it is for the enemy to know the name of your servant, because they can use that against you pretty hard. Now that entire scene with Fran was pretty emotional, and I have to say that Frankenstein the creator was a huge dick. And I know people are probably going to complain about this scene with Fran and saying that it was pretty bad animation, but honestly I don't think so. Honestly, I think it was done on purpose, and it really did put into perspective just how insane and heartbreaking that was for Fran, and it did look like I just started watching a horror anime with that animation. So again, I have to give props to A1 for this and just the overall quality of the series thus far. There has definitely been some derps in animation and just some choices for the fight scenes I wasn't a fan of, but they're making a pretty good adaptation from what I can tell. Now the next fight I want to talk about is between Semiramis and Astolfo, in which, holy shit, is this lady an assassin or caster, because she definitely has the qualities to be both, and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon is nothing to play around with. And this fight also just leads into another fight between her and Ruler, which wasn't much of a fight at all because Ruler just shrugged that attack off that Semiramis gave to Ruler, and it goes back to what the Black Servants were saying previously about how Ruler can basically take them all on in a fight if she wanted to. Now for the last fight I want to talk about is the one between Atlanta versus Spartacus, and Spartacus may be my favorite berserker in this series just because of how fun he is as a berserker. Dude gives no shits about getting his limbs torn off by Atlanta's attack, and his regeneration ability is quite helpful as well. Also, talking more about Atlanta and her noble phantasm, it just orgasmed to my eyes because goddamn, A1 is really putting in the budget to her attacks. Now to talk about other things outside these battles, I gotta say I love Mordred's and her master's entrance to the battle, and I don't blame the dude for trying to get as far away from this battle as possible. And her fight with Astolfo was pretty short-lived, and it seems like we're very close to the fight scene in the beginning of the series, considering how Sieg is now here on the battlefield and Atlanta is currently leading Spartacus to Ruler. Now like I said earlier, it's very good to hear the different OST in these past two episodes because the other one was getting very old, and the animation has been very much on point as well. So really I don't have much complaints if anything for these past two episodes, and all I really want to say is that I want to see more and see how this battle is going to conclude, and to see if we're going to get any servants taken out from this battle. In fact, to say if anyone's going to get taken out right now, it's probably going to be Astolfo because he is in a really bad shape. Also, I forgot to mention that it was nice to see some references to the previous Fate series in this episode, like concerning someone in Fate Zero and one of the previous wars in Darnik's flashback. So let me know what you guys think of today's episode and which fight has been your favorite of the bunch so far. And also, continuing off my last review, which side are you rooting for the most? Like I said in my last review, I'm rooting for the Red faction, it, and I don't think I'm regretting my choice so far. But yeah, leave all your thoughts in the comment section down below, and catch me next time on my discussion of Apocrypha. And until then, have a great day.